question. I've been a community-based conservation practitioner since last 3 decades. I had an opportunity to work with NTNC, WWF, now in Red Panda Network. And in Red Panda Network, we are basically working for red pandas to connect their habitats in Kangchenjunga region. And in particular, we want to connect the key habitat between Kangchenjunga Conservation Area of Nepal and Indian National Park, Singalia. Thank you.
Thank you, fantastic.
Rohini Khanal, I'm Office Director of Tourism Marketing and Promotion of Nepal Tourism Board. I've been working in this institution for the last 2.5 decades. Basically with the promotion of the country in the international markets. We've been promoting the various destinations of Nepal regularly in the international markets. We do various activities, and of course Kangchenjunga is also one of the main destinations that we've been working from.
I have not been rigorously involved in conservation. The office that I represent, that is EC Mode, has been involved for more than a decade in Kangchenjunga region, especially through the Kangchenjunga Conservation, Kangchenjunga Landscape Conservation and Development Initiative, where EC Mode has been heavily involved in sustaining livelihood ecosystem services, and the major thing of all is bringing transboundary cooperation in looking towards Kangchenjunga conservation. Thank you.
As a young indigenous woman, I had the privilege to grow up and being raised in a culture where we are deep-rooted with nature and the environment. I now realize that my inclination towards pursuing environmental sciences in graduation was purposeful because I'm working as project officer and indigenous engagement specialist in UNESCO, working with the Man and the Biosphere program. Besides this program, I'm also looking towards the project which is dedicated for the Kangchenjunga region, which is entitled Strengthening Communities for Biodiversity Conservation, which is about the approximately funding of $200,000 from the KBF. This project also supports the dossier nomination of Nepal in the Biosphere Reserve, and it is my privilege and truly fortunate to be a part of the upcoming historical nomination of Nepal's first Biosphere Reserve, which safeguards biodiversity as well as the cultural heritage for future generations. Thank you.
Hello to all. I'm Ratan Gurataki, working as a gender, disability, social inclusion and climate integration in WAS at SMP Nepal. So in the sector, I have been engaged for over 32 years, particularly in the rural areas, working with the communities, men, women, persons with disabilities, and local government. Actually, I do not have practical experience in Kangchenjunga, but in case of Nepal and remote areas, I have been part of the people's journey, and we have been really, as water and sanitation is fundamental right, and without water and sanitation, definitely it is difficult to assume the life as well, so it's very important. But Kangchenjunga, on behalf of the Assembly, very recently with Sundita Pahad, we were happy to contribute conducting the detailed feasibility survey and the design and engineering design for micro-hydro project area. I think there's a small contribution, but that gives a kind of area to invest later on. And with the funding support from the FCDU, the Assembly and Water are working with the Kosi province, with the provincial government to help them really to prepare the vast plans which could really help the local government. What are the barriers, what are the opportunities, and how the funding can be generated. So particularly behavior change for community, for our support and tourism, tourist players, it will be required, and we should be happy to really contribute in behavior change and making the quality life of the people with improving the water sanitation services. Thank you.
Thank you. Perspective of the red, especially from the red panda, well, what are the biggest conservation? How is your network addressing these to strengthen environmental conservation?
Thank you, Lisa. As for any other wildlife, one of the biggest threat for red panda is habitat fragmentation. And we did a study in 2016 that indicates that all the red panda across Nepal, mostly in all places, and this fragmentation basically hinders their natural movement, and that consequently restrict their genetic flow in the long run. So that's how the viability or genetic viability or population viability decreases in the long run. And in the next few decades, we may not see red pandas. So we're sort of in this matchmaking business, that we allow or we pave a way or reforest area where they can easily move from one place to other place. So let's take an example, a few examples. How do we do it? We restore habitats in the key corridors or key hotspots of the red pandas. And recently we have purchased around, let's say, 50 hectares of land and handed it over to government to make a corridor for red pandas, so that we are focusing our work in basically in Eastern Nepal. And in adjacent to Eastern Nepal, there is a big single national park, right? So we wanted to create a corridor so that our pandas can go to marry the Indian beautiful pandas. That's what we are doing. And in next 5 years, we want to restore another 500 hectares. We have already restored around 200 hectares. And another 15,000 hectares is in a pipeline. So I want our partners to join hand with us in this restoration project.
Thank you. Exciting. Would be for both for Kangchenjunga and also for Nepal's national tourism objectives to develop new destinations throughout the country. So I'd love to hear from Rohini about your priorities specifically to promote the right sort of tourism in Kangchenjunga.
Thank you. Actually, Kangchenjunga lies in the province 1, Kosi province of Nepal. And though the area is very, had the potential of developing itself, is very popular tourist destination, still we're not getting the tourist as we expected over the years. One of the reasons would be the accessibility that we're facing, because it's not getting as much tourists as we get in other destinations. The good news is that even the provincial government nowadays, because the country has recently, the government has realized this potential in their announced visit Kosi province here this year. So obviously this also marks their interest and priority to develop the region as a whole, including the Kangchenjunga area. And we at Nepal Tourism Board, since we have the responsibility of promoting the country as a whole, of course Kangchenjunga is the area, it has a potential that we can now take the tourists there, because the other areas, as we hear that, they are posing threats in terms of environment and carrying capacity. So in terms of the product diversifications and the new taste and experience for the travelers, this area still holds, holds potentials. We at Nepal Tourism Board, I would like to say that we have recently started a sustainable tourism project, which is jointly funded by Nepal Tourism Board and UNDP. And that has identified the areas, basically three areas. One is Kangchenjunga area, where we would like to have the different activities in terms of biodiversity, ecotourism and environment, trainings, community-based tourism, and these are the areas where we would like to work. And obviously after that, we'd like to take all this message and information to the international market as a tourist destination.
Thanks. About the current state of glaciers in the Kangchenjunga region and what might their future look like, and how is that going to change and affect the community as well as the ecosystem?
Which covers around 20% of the whole conservation area. Having said that, just within the timeline that Kangchenjunga conservation area was built, the glaciers there have already lost 30% of their area. Meaning they are already receding much. And recent studies from this does that mean? So that would mean that they will slowly percolate to form and pond to form glacial lakes. And there are a lot of glacial lakes in Kangchenjunga conservation area. About 140, more than 140 glacial lakes just within the Kangchenjunga conservation area. And within that, there are already 4 potentially dangerous glacial lakes listed as highly ranked and highly dangerous glacial lakes from a recent report by ISMOD, which I recently had one of the most devastating glacial lake outbursts. That was the South Lona, the Sikkim glacial lake outburst, which caused a lot of devastating damages. But the limelight here and the sad scenario here is that we do not have enough information, and the people people that live in this particular region in the high mountains do not have the capacity or the financial resources or the human resources to try to adapt and to try to cope with this changing climate. And especially with changing climate now, it's not only about warming temperatures. It's also about the increasing of these extreme events. We might have a very hot, this recently have been heat waves, with a lot of intense precipitation. And just this year now, this year is projected to have a lot of heat waves. It's going to be much, much harder than last year. Meaning